So I wanted to talk about how Labour always win, and it's utterly depressing, and this past day has really black-pilled me.
Except in elections.
On the whole situation, except in elections, but that apparently doesn't matter, because if you just
Apparently
win,
so, yeah.
if you win the culture war, who cares? So I suppose I should preface this with racism bad, stunning and brave, I know. I don't know what else to say, because apparently that's mandatory, as if people don't believe this, but whatever. So first thing I wanted to bring up was the Darren Grimes tweet that he did, which made him trending and got, what was it, like 16,000 salty comments from people, because he dared to say, honestly though, Marcus Rashford, penalties, not politics from now on, aye. He missed the penalty. His politics is socialism, therefore it's trash.
I mean, I said
don't
more or
get-
less the same thing when I was just watching it on my own. I was just thinking to myself, well,
But I don't-
maybe if he spent less time playing politics and more time taking penalties.
Sure, but what's controversial about this? That's what I don't get, and I'm yet to have someone properly explain this. It's just like, yeah, he said that the guy missed his penalty and his politics are...
I think because of the supposed racist comments, I haven't actually
Well, I'm
seen
sure he's got
anything.
some.
Yeah,
I wouldn't doubt
I wouldn't doubt that there are legitimate comments, but in that kind of environment, people are very touchy about criticising them at the minute. And I think in that climate where I think this should be fine to stand alone, but in that climate, people are like, well, they're already getting dogpiled as is. You should not be criticising them anymore. I don't agree.
That's a
but
pathetic argument, because it's like, well, if this guy's getting criticism, you can't criticize him. It's like, all right, then that's not an argument. Anyway, moving on from that, but just something I wanted to mention because I just found it ridiculous. And one of the things I wanted to mention was, as you pointed out, people have said the N-word online, and therefore all rational thinking apparently has gone out the window for every wing of politics in the UK, which is mad. So the Labour Party, spending their last few months trying to raise racial consciousness by advancing Black Lives Matter, which ideology is inherently racial socialism, along with critical race theory, and they have stoked this, and then their solution to the England team losing a game, and then people online, presumably in other countries by the data, of saying the N-word online, is that we need more censorship in the UK. So, Labour Party tweet. The racist abuse that members of the England football team are facing is appalling. The Conservatives need to crack down on the social media companies that continue to allow this hatred to spread. Condemnation is not enough. We need tough new laws against racist abuse online. We already have Section 127, which criminalises being grossly offensive. Nothing's ever gone wrong with that, has it? The Malicious Communication Act, which criminalises causing anxiety, which nothing has ever gone wrong with that either. But no, not enough. We need more laws to crack down on people saying the N-word online, who aren't even in this country, majority by the looks of it. I don't even know what to say. Like, you kind of expect this from Labour and whatever, but then there's the other stuff coming out of this, so we go to the next one. You have Boris, who, in response to the N-word trending on Twitter, which is Twitter's fault, no one else's, saying, shame on you, I hope that you crawl back under the rock from which you emerged. Yeah, I mean, Boris says racism is bad. I don't know what you were expecting.
stunning and brave.
One of the weird things here is, fundamentally, this is a political trap, which is to get him talking about this, and therefore he can be tacked on lines that you said Marxism bad, therefore you're a racist, which is what they have been saying for the longest time, and now you've put yourself in a position.
In criticising players taking the knee, which is obviously Black Lives Matter gesture, they're like, yeah, you are allowing people to be racist.
Which doesn't make any sense. The problem here was the racialization of politics, which the Labour Party and left-wingers are entirely to blame for. When you say in critical race theory textbooks, we will need to raise racial consciousness, that's not the liberal position, that's not the conservative position, that is the leftist position. So when they set up the football game for win, a win equals that diversity makes the superior Ubermensch, and what does lose mean? Well, what does lose mean? Well, it means a society is racist and we need more power to push racial socialism. So the response, of course, is that Boris Johnson said racism bad, well, therefore he also booed the players, therefore he is also bad. So Keir Starmer attacking him on this point. Boris Johnson failed to support players taking the knee when they were being booed. His words now ring hollow.
That's so ridiculous because it's suggesting that you either support Black Lives Matter or you're racist. Just like there's no alternative. You can be against racism.
No, that's the Labour narrative, which is that you support socialism or you're racist. So when you say racism bad, well, then you get pulled into the trap where you booed socialism, therefore you is a racist. So he's also getting attacked. The players are also attacking Conservatives on this. So Priti Patel saying racism bad. And then for that, she's getting attacked by the football players. You don't get to stoke the fire at the beginning of the tournament by labeling our anti-racist message a gesture politics and then pretending to be disgusted when the very thing we're campaigning against happens. Freudian slip, because that's what it is what you're campaigning for. Sorry to break this to you, but raising racial consciousness leads to racism. Who would have thought? Like, this is what your gesture politics was and why it was bad. It was not just gesture politics, it was racist politics. Racializing society is not a good thing and doesn't lead to a tolerant society. I don't know what on earth you people were thinking. And then you're like, oh, the people condemning us for raising racial consciousness. They're the real racists. Oh, sick of it. Absolutely sick of it. But I kind of expect this stupidity from the socialist camp, because that's all they do. What I was not expecting was the elitist response to this, which I probably should have been expecting at this point. So the first one here, Piers Morgan. Social media firms must end all anonymous accounts. If you want to spew vile abuse, you should be forced to do so publicly under your genuine identity, not while hiding behind the cloak of billionaire-backed secrecy. All the Pepe accounts, they're all Jeff Bezos bots there. So he's saying that because you have anonymity on social media, therefore this causes people to say the N-word. Doesn't make any sense. Also, the stupidity of being like, yeah, we'll just abolish anonymity on social media. This will have no negative consequences whatsoever. There's no reason to be anonymous online, ever.
Yes.
Whistleblowers, journalists, people who are victims of crimes who want to keep their identity hidden. Talk about the grooming gang victims for a second. You really think they want their identity online? Think they should be forced to? If they want to make an account and talk about what's happened to them, they need to hand over their driving license or passport to Twitter or Facebook, and therefore have their name on the front. I mean, for God's sakes, Piers, like, you're a journalist. You used to be a journalist. You used to film people, and you keep their names hidden because they asked for it. What was the reason for that? Because they're racist, I presume. It's just unbelievably stupid. I mean, I've seen Piers Morgan. What was it, the Leveson inquiry? Like, he went to the Leveson inquiry and refused to give the names of sources who had given him information because he respected their anonymity. Yeah, he's like, yeah, but if you want to use social media, no anonymity.
It's ridiculous as well. And obviously I'm against calling people names in general. It's not a productive thing. It doesn't do anyone any good. But at the same time, ending internet anonymity is hugely disproportionate to what's actually happened.
Some people have said the N-word online, therefore end anonymity online.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Stupidest thing. Also, someone made a comment which is right, which is just ask Piers, well, why do we vote anonymously? Out of interest. What's the value in anonymity? Apparently
That's a
none
good point,
to this guy.
yeah.
So also, no more leakers, no more meme makers, because if you make a meme and it's politically incorrect, it doesn't have to be racist, it could just be politically incorrect, political left don't like it, you can lose your job if you do that on social media with your real name. No more of that. Crush all that, because that's the world we want to live in. We want to live in a world of full-on cancel culture, which you can say nothing. There's also the point of when the N-word was trending on Twitter, one of the comments that made that trend was because a guy who worked at some company had his real name and tweeted, N is the reason we lost tonight. A horrible thing to say, but he did it with his real name. So the point that if we make everyone have their real names online, this will end. Just not true.
It's just going to make everyone who says it unemployed, apparently.
And that's one thing, but it's more about the point of there's you can say, oh, I don't want racists to have jobs. Who's a racist? Who's a racist, Piers? Political left would say you are. Moron. Like, you've been accused of this. Everyone's been accused of racism at some point because they don't believe in goddamn BLM or something. So everyone's got a goddamn prison. There's also the absolute brainlets. So you got Katie Price here, some pointless thought who's tweeted out a petition. And if we go to the petition, just the next link, make verified ID a requirement for opening a social media account.
That's racist.
611,000 signatures.
Wow. At least we have a number on the number of stupid people in this country. Apparently.
Could you get anything more blackpilling, though? It's just, it kills me to look at.
Oh, it's going up.
Yeah, it just ticks up by the second. So you can see in the text here,
Great.
The online harms bill doesn't go far enough in making online abuse a specific criminal offence.
The online harms bill is basically communist.
It's a censorship bill which our government is going to
terrible,
pass.
yeah. I wrote an article about it, by the way, on
they're conservatives.
our website.
So, and doing what Harvey's law intended, to make the law work needs the removal of anonymity to ensure that users cannot cause harm by using online platforms to abuse others. The stupidest of stupid takes. I mean, just as a second as well, as John mentioned earlier, these people are so dumb, they don't even know that, like, the internet is not something you can control via government. Like, you can just make an anonymous account anywhere else. Or you could just make up a name, or you could just lie on your ID.
Yeah,
And
use
then
a fake ID.
now what? Anyway, so, I mean, brainlets, Piers Morgan, what do you expect? Didn't expect the next one, though. So the next one is George Galloway and Richard Tice backing this. So if you can scroll up, you can see Richard Tice, the leader of Reform UK, the party that is, used to be Brexit Party, Nigel Farage. They're backing this. So Richard Tice said Boris and Parliament could stop online racism in its tracks by passing legislation forcing Twitter, Facebook in the UK to have only named accounts, checking people's details and banning anonymous ones. Happens in betting shops, etc. So why not on social media? Come on, Zuckerberg and co. God damn it, man.
The comparison to betting shops as well.
Is it like
it's so ridiculous.
Online betting, you have to show an ID. Therefore, to speak, you should have to show an ID.
Isn't the ID just to see if you're over 18 as well?
And also your real name and all the rest of it. So you can't have a fake name or just anonymity at all. And then George Galloway, absolutely correct, Richard. No, George, not absolutely correct. This is the dumbest thing. What's irritating as well is we had Richard on, and he said in the interview with me, he was like, look, the police should spend less time dealing with online mean comments and instead go after the people who are stabbing each other. Stabbings haven't stopped. They've gotten worse. He knows this. And I just find it dumbfounding that he could say something like this and be like, yeah, that's a priority. That's something they should be doing. When he knows full well, he's not an idiot. There's the rest of them are goddamn midwits, but this guy isn't, from what I saw. He understands that you shouldn't be spending police time on this, and yet end online anonymity. Same with George Galloway. It's embarrassing to see. It's not the worst one, though. If we go to Dan Wootton at GB News, anonymous postings on social media should not be allowed. GB News. Conservatism right here.
Yep, at least we know the compromise now, even.
Just dumb take. Just real dumb take. But not the worst one. Worst one so far is a conservative, Mike Graham. Mike Graham decided to say that racists should not only not be able to have accounts, not only should go to jail, but should lose every human right imaginable by the looks of it. So let's play this clip of him this morning.
And I've got a plan. The time has come to not only find these people, not only to prosecute them for their lawless behaviour, but also basically to excommunicate them from our society. So forget about locking them up, forget about throwing away the key, forget about banning them from football stadiums, right? I've got a better idea. Instead, let's make it impossible for them to actually have a life. No bank account, no ability to travel, no passport, no benefits, nothing. Forget kick it out. Let's kick them out. We don't need them. Britain doesn't need them. Adios, amigos. And you don't like it because I've said that in Spanish.
Sure, disenfranchising people is going to make them so much more moderate and reasonable. Destroying their entire life, I'm sure, is going to make them really sympathetic to your viewpoints.
Hey, we got this racist guy who really hates black people. What are we going to do? We'll get rid of his passport, his bank account, and all the rest of it until he do nothing. I mean, social credit system there to try and combat racists. Sorry to say this. I don't know how this is controversial. Racists are humans and therefore have human rights. Just like the communists. Communists, evil ideology, evil people for believing in it, same thing, except they are still humans and therefore have human rights. We can't just take away all of the rights of the communists or the Nazis. It's not a thing you can do in a liberal democracy. But who cares? Someone wrote the N-word online, so I guess abolish freedom. I don't get it. I don't know how on earth you can get to this position and be like, yeah, I'm a conservative. But I mean, someone said the N-word online, so I mean, socialism. We're going to have to do socialism now. Because someone said the N-word online.
It's so ridiculous.
I don't know what it is. Something
What is
emotional
wrong
happens.
with people, yeah.
And they just lose their heads. No thinking whatsoever, just abandon any reason. This is not the only thing. There is some other stuff which is just weird. So this is the first one here. So this comedian, Andrew Lawrence, I've seen him before. He does some good skits. So if we go to the first image here, if you can click on the image in that tweet there, in which he was responding to the thing, and being a comedian, he makes edgy jokes because that's what a comedian's meant to be. I don't know why that's controversial. So he says in here that his first response is after seeing the penalties, all I'm saying is the white guy scored, and then equality, diversity, S penalties, S-word penalties. It's like, yeah, okay, edgy jokes. I don't know what else to say. Like, let's, okay, what do you want? So his shows have all been cancelled, which is what they're demonstrating next. So all of the shows he had lined up have been cut off because of this. And if you go to the next link, there's another joke that he told in response to this. So if we go to the next link, sorry. In which he says, he retweets the thing after people were getting upset at his joke. I can see that this has offended a lot of people, and I'm so sorry that the black guys are bad at penalties. Again, edgy, but clearly a joke. I don't know what to say. And you can be mad. You can not want to go to his show. Sure, whatever. That's your freedom. But the idea that his guy needs to be completely destroyed over it. I mean, remember the Labour Party saying this guy for making this joke, he should go to jail. And what's embarrassing, they don't even need to pass legislation. We already have the legislation. This guy's already guilty under the Malicious Communications Act and Section 127 of the Communications Act. That man's a criminal for making his jokes. Regardless of what you think of them, you can hate the jokes, go for it. But that doesn't change the fact that we've criminalized that. So I guess he can enjoy his prison sentence of up to a year, which is more than you get for blasphemy in Kuwait. So if we go to the next one, which is just to remind people where they remember the petition, Section 127. This is why I'm very black-pilled, because, I mean, you can look at, we should get rid of this censorship law. We got the 10,000 signatures and the government was like, get stuffed. And yet you have, let's just abolish freedom, 600,000 signatures. I mean, like, we are never getting a First Amendment, are we? It's never happening.
If anything, it's going to go further in the opposite direction at this rate.
So what are the Conservatives saying about this? Are they fighting back and being like, no, I know someone said the N-word online, but that doesn't mean we abolish freedom?
Of course they're not.
No, so let's go to the next one. So the government will tell tech giants to immediately hand over details of the racists who abused England players, so the government can make examples of them. Who are they going to be making examples of? It's kind of people that post stuff like this. Don't know. I guess we'll find out, because if you're still naive enough to think that hate speech laws are a good idea, let's go to the next tweet. Someone's already been arrested. Don't worry, we're getting them, boys. Who we got? 12-year-old boy. 12-year-old boy. That's who we're going after. We're going after children online.
Protecting those poor, vulnerable footballers from those horrible children. They're out to get them. Oh, no.
Like, sure, he said some gross stuff. So, as you can see here, the 12-year-old boy from Birmingham, can't say the name because it's difficult, has been arrested after a string of vile racist messages that were sent to Crystal Palace footballer Wilfried Zaha. He sent Zaha photos of the Ku Klux Klan and told the winger, quote, "You better not score tomorrow, you black C-word, or I'll come to your house dressed as a ghost." Yeah, it's racist, it's gross. He didn't kill anyone. So the 12-year-old has been arrested. 12-year-old has been arrested by the police for sending this, because that's a normal world. We arrest children for saying something mean online. It's gross, you can be upset about it. I am. It's not a nice thing to say. No one died, though. No physical harm was done to the millionaire footballer from the 12-year-old from Birmingham.
Just hurt feelings, I think. And of course,
Okay.
I too disavow the child, but at the same time, getting arrested is a little bit far, isn't it?
There's a difference between don't like and illegal. And the position the UK government has, and even the right wing seems to be adopting right now, is anyone who says this, no matter if they're a child, no matter if it's a stupid comment, is illegal. Send them to jail. I mean, this kid could be facing up to a year in jail under Section 127. Presumably not as a child. He'll end up with a fine like Dankula, because this country is a free country. So we go to the next one as well. So in case you're like, oh, okay, no, come on, I still agree. That was a racist comment. Therefore, arrest the child. Send him to jail. Maybe you still agree with that. Okay, then we'll take it to the next step, because this is how it works. This is why we are against hate speech laws in the right of Britain. So this is the next story. Hate crime investigation after reports that a street preacher used homophobic language. Quoted from the Bible. That's homophobic language. So you got to investigate. Remember this? This is the same thing. This is what you're advocating when you advocate for hate speech laws. Where do you think that's going? Well, it never stops there, does it? It doesn't stop at the homophobic language of the Bible. It goes to the next one. If we go to the next one, being investigated for gender-critical views. Have you people lost your memories? Like, a week ago, everyone was able to understand this. A week later, someone said the N-word online. Kill freedom. It's over. It's just embarrassing to see. But one of the things that I didn't expect is a Labour MP being on our side, weirdly.
Wait, what?
In a weird way. Of course, not purposely, accidentally. She says in here that the Tory hate speech bill back in Parliament today, which threatens student societies' freedom to choose who speaks at their events and the ability to protect students. I love it. When it's a Tory hate speech bill, it's an abridge of free speech. It's something bad. When it's a Labour hate speech bill, that's not an abridgment of free speech because that harms the racists. I mean, could you get any more transparent? Hate speech is not a legitimate method on which to censure speech. But I guess we don't care. And to end this, I suppose I should mention GB News. So this is a guy on GB News this morning who, in response to people saying the N-word online, has decided that socialism, fair enough. So remember, players take the knee, they do the socialist salute, and everyone's like, yeah, we don't believe in socialism, take that out of sport. And he's like, everyone backs up on that. He's like, yep, socialism bad. But then someone said the N-word online in response to them losing. Therefore, I mean, fair enough, we'll just have to do socialism, mate. What else are we going to do? We could just continue to be a free country, or you could be like, nah, I'll do the socialist salute live on GB News. Goddamn embarrassing. And I am black pill to hell. I don't know what else to say.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 PM UK time on lotuseaters.com.